My name is Heather. I'm from the US. I moved to Lithuania a little less than a year and a half ago. I met a Lithuanian guy while I was studying in Spain, and that's how I ended up here. I've been teaching English in Lithuania for about a year and a half as well. I really love animals. I'm a huge animal fan. I actually have a Lithuanian cat and an American cat at home. I have a cat that I adopted here in Lithuania, and then I have a cat that I brought from the US with me. We had some family situations, and it just worked out better for us to be in Lithuania right now. Who knows, maybe in the future we'll move back, but for now, Lithuania is the best place for us. When I first came here, it felt like I was stepping back in time about 20 years. Because when I first came here, I came in 2012, and I didn't spend any time in Vilnius. The whole time I was here in Lithuania, we were in different villages. And the villages are much different than they are in the US. The houses, the style of houses, the model of cars on the road is much different. So it was kind of interesting, and I definitely had a little bit of culture shock. But I liked it. I liked, the Lithuanian culture. I feel like it's very much about family, very family oriented, and that's a big part of the reason that it was easy for me to move here. Teaching. The teaching is not something that I saw myself doing. It was always something that I said I would never do it, I'll never do it. But then I met a Lithuanian guy. And I realized that I was going to have to find a career that would be easy for me to do while I was learning Lithuanian. Because when I got here, I couldn't speak hardly any Lithuanian, and I knew I couldn't get a job in my degree. I have a biology degree. So I knew that while I was studying, I needed to get something that I could use here. So I also got my English degree so that I could teach English when I moved here. I've actually taught several classes that are specifically for students that are wanting to take biology courses and things like that. And right now I'm teaching some exam preparation classes for students that want to go to the US. And I definitely feel that having a background of biology and things like that helps me help students prepare for something other than just learning how to speak English. I had done it a bit in the US. I worked with a program so that I could kind of get a feel for it before I moved here. I worked with students that wanted to learn how to read that were from Mexico, Guatemala, and places like that. So I worked with Spanish-speaking students. Lithuanian-speaking students is much, much different. It's totally different for me to teach them, because in Spanish there are a lot of words that are very similar in English, constructions are very similar, and in Lithuanian it's vastly different. So it was interesting to work with students that didn't know any of the English words. Really good experiences with all age groups, small children, teenagers, and adults. When I started teaching English, I learned a lot about English myself, because being a native speaker, we don't really pay attention to all of the rules and things like that. And I've noticed that trying to explain to someone the reason we do something isn't so easy sometimes. And since I've been learning Lithuanian while I've been teaching English, I understand from both perspectives what it's like to learn a language and what it's like to teach a language. And I've learned a lot about myself and how I can come across to others if I'm not careful. Because, learning a language can be intimidating, and if you're not careful, it's easy to make someone feel like they're not intelligent if you're not careful with your wording. So I think I've learned to be more conscious about how others understand what I'm saying. I learned Lithuanian via Skype with my now husband, then boyfriend. He lived here in Lithuania, and I was living in the US. We were both studying, so we couldn't live in the same country. And I knew that I needed to learn Lithuanian because I was going to come here. And when I first started learning Lithuanian, I could say labas and ačiū, and that's about it. I couldn't say anything else. We had talked about the alphabet and how to pronounce each letter a couple of times, but nothing intense. And I decided I would do something a little crazy. I read a bunch of different blogs about the best way to learn a language and things like that without taking classes, and they said to just stop using your native language. So via Skype, my husband and I would talk, I don't know, 2 or 3 hours a day. We talked about everything together, and we just decided that we would stop using English. So one day we went from using English, the next day only Lithuanian. There were about 2 weeks that I understood nothing. Nothing. I cried every day because I couldn't understand anything, and it was really frustrating. And then after the 2 weeks, it's like a door opened in my head. So I started understanding words, and everything just started clicking into place, and it was really interesting. And since then, on and off, we've done things like that. Right now, because both of our lives are kind of chaotic, we speak English at home. We need to go back to Lithuanian, and I think soon we will. But my favorite word is drumblys. Because when I first started learning Lithuanian, the Y in drumblys makes a specific sound in Lithuanian, and it's much different than the sound that the Y makes in English. And when I first started trying to pronounce words and read in Lithuanian, I could never remember how to say that Y sound. So every time that I needed that Y sound, I would have to say the word drumblys so I could remember how to say it. So I would go around saying elephant everywhere, you know, just trying to like pronounce other words correctly. I think it's very important to learn foreign languages, not only for living abroad, but for living where you live. I think if you speak another language, you can see the world differently. And I heard that in school my whole life, and I didn't believe it. You know, teachers say that, oh, you can look at the world differently if you can speak another language. And I didn't buy it until I moved to Spain and started speaking Spanish and understanding the culture. And you look at the whole world differently when you speak a different language. It kind of opens you up to more ideas, because as simple as it sounds, different languages use different structures and different expressions to say something, and those expressions and those structures can open up your thought processes to bigger ideas. And I definitely can say that when I started speaking Spanish, or when I started speaking Lithuanian more fluently, I seen the whole world much differently than I did when I only used English. In the US, normally this time of year we'd be getting ready for Thanksgiving. Since there's not a lot you can do for Thanksgiving here, my husband and I start preparing for Christmas quite early because I need some holiday in my life around Thanksgiving. So probably soon we will put up our Christmas tree and start decorating our house and things for it. But tradition-wise, my family, we have traditions to spend one day before Christmas cooking cookies and sweets all day long. So my husband and I have both done this together. We also have a tradition in my family to watch a specific movie, National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation. It's like the movie for my family. And I've convinced my husband that this is a Christmas tradition for our family too. So we watch this 2 or 3 times per Christmas season. And then in Lithuanian, we use kūčias a little bit more. So we have the traditional 12 dishes on Christmas Eve and things like that. We do the celebrating of Christmas for 2 days. We use the 25th and the 26th to celebrate for Christmas, which is different because in the US it's only the 5th. In the US, we take down our Christmas tree on the first day of the year. Here in Lithuania, you don't take down the Christmas tree until Three Kings Day. And my husband and I've adapted to him, and we keep our Christmas tree much longer than most people would in the US. So our Christmas tree is like 3 months in our flat. So by the end of Christmas and by the time we pack it, I'm like so tired of the Christmas tree. I wish you all a very Merry Christmas. I hope you have wonderful holidays and get to spend lots of lovely time with your family, your friends, and even your colleagues.